As I was free-falling strapped to the chest of a human under heavy flak and AA fire, I started asking myself what went wrong in my life. The 1st Regiment was still seated on those cheap plastic chairs when the colonel stormed in, this time not as angry as the first time, still not really someone you would call happy. Ladies and gentlemen, the first wave has reached the LZs with unexpected success. Going against overwhelming negative expectations, our Xeno friends opened a corridor to the surface and are holding their space pretty firmly. The first elements of the 43rd and 50th have safely reached the respective LZ Bravo southeast of objective and LZ Charlie southwest of objective. I heard the 321st almost missed their designated LZ. Lucky, it seems the Marines calmly and politely pointed out they were approaching the wrong moon. After a bit of colorful arrows on a star map, they managed to land on the right celestial body. We are not actually completely sure since we lost comms with them. Oh, of course our Navy is performing well, I thought to myself. After a quick call to the ambassador, I made sure this sector was flooded with naval assets to show the humans not to underestimate us. Also because I didn't want to die. As I understand, as of now, we are not performing badly theater-wide. Yes, the other sectors are not as understaffed and had acceptable operational plans compared to us here in Yerevan. But we are making considerable progress in the asteroid belt, and the Moth's fleet protecting the Cradle world has greatly suffered under the Grand Admiral frustration. What the colonel said shortly thereafter explained how this whole thing didn't immediately result in an uprising from the military. I was wondering how both Grand Admiral Wyrene and Grand General Starshaw gave the green light for this idiocy. They were hiding some units from the Senate, the Mad 2. A roar of confusion took the room. What did he mean? How do you even hide warships and battalions from your own government? So, how did they fool the very same people who managed to convince the population that they are not worthless old farts and need to be paid to do nothing but play Jenga? They sent the 13th Warnot, the 69th, 87th, 90th, 100th Marine, and the 9 Army divisions originally part of the operation on a special training mission in the adjacent star system, while the 12th Battle Group and 3 escort squadrons are patrolling 4 systems away from here. Being a training mission and a simple combat patrol, they didn't feel the need to report such movements to the Senate. So when these units heard our moving and emotional request for further reinforcements, how could our brothers and sisters stand down and let everything go to shit? Well, to make it short, they are coming. Even with the Allied naval effort being enough for now, this sector is being reinforced by the 12th Battle Group and 1 escort squadron. They should be here in 8 hours or so, and with them will arrive the 69th Marine with 3 fresh Army divisions. Don't ask me what kind of magic bullshit they will pull out from their hats not to get an invitation to attend the martial court as defendants. Both of them just reminded us to do our job. They will do theirs. These were outstanding, marvelous news. All we needed to do is hold out until the human reinforcements get here, and then we can smash. But, oh gods, what now? I almost despaired. As you know, we already have some guys on the ground. If we halt operations for 8 hours, I don't know how many good soldiers we will find left at the LZ. So the assault will proceed as planned. I expected the human soldiers to complain or lash out. Unexpectedly, the Warnots were resolute in going all the way through this. No man left behind, one of humanity's sayings, I think. I don't understand, we were the ones being left behind. What's the problem with staying in this comfy spaceship, I thought. It was then that a loud explosion shakes the ship and makes the lights flicker. I almost forgot we were in a war zone. Scared, I looked around. Relax, minion. The captain of this ship might as well be crazier than the Grand General, but she won't get us killed. Not from the likes of space moths, calmly said one of the officers. Men and women, continued the colonel loudly. As of now, it has been told to me that the 3rd Regiment is, by Colonel Astrid's own words, in a shitty, muddy, and precarious situation. Enemy units surround them from 3 sides, and on the remaining side they have a mass of H2O. Reportedly, some mechanized and armored units have been sighted. Enemy combatants' number is unknown. With the little orbital intel we can gather, thanks to the awful weather, we suspect the 3rd is outnumbered 8-1. Just enough to be a fair fight. Everyone in the room laughed. I still don't get what was supposed to be funny. With that being said, it's now our turn to drop into what we will turn into hell. Originally, only the 1st Regiment was intended for the 2nd wave, but, taking advantage of the current situation, Major Kiriai's 45th Armored Battalion and accompanying infantry will drop with us. Everyone was very confused. Initially, I didn't understand why or what was so strange about it. How so, sir? Dared to ask a trooper. They, as well, will perform a halo drop. I heard a loud what the fuck. Yes, people, you heard right, the Major came up with the idea. They are going to airdrop 55 T-tanks. The concept in itself is not new, but the fact that they will open the parachute at the last moment is what scared every single mechanic of the division. When Major Kirai told us this, the head of maintenance just stood up from his chair and walked away. Silently. Everyone was more stunned than impressed. So yeah, the 45th went around the ship and stole every pillow they could find and are as of now packing the interior of their tanks with them. Good luck sleeping when we get back. Laughing face, the rest of the plan remains unchanged. After 7 hours, we assume some gunships and air support from the 12th Battle Group will permanently open a space corridor for the rest of the division. Get ready. After the talk, I approached the colonel to wish him good luck and give my best regards. Where do you think you are going? You are coming with us. What? So there I was, graciously falling through the night sky. As I looked up, I saw the dark silhouettes of the C-750 Starlifter, slowly shrinking as we fell farther and further away from the stars. In the background, behind the small but actually big transport crafts, I could see the space battle raging on in the upper atmosphere. Looking around, I saw all the little humanoid shapes that made the 1st Regiment. The hell are you dreaming of? This is not a tourist attraction. Look down. Angrily said the colonel's aide, already mad because he was ordered to somehow get a baby harness and strap me to his chest. As I look down, the few things I see leave me frozen, in fear. Flashes of lights and roars of thunder can be seen and heard from above the clouds. Despite the storm on the surface, I know this is not the usual natural phenomenon. Put your goggles and ear protections on if you haven't done that already. Shit's about to get real, screams the lieutenant as he increases the pitch and gains speed. Looking through the smart eyewear, I noticed a faint green light I could not see before. It's the colonel. From his right foot, a weak infrared green light indicated to the HQ company who to follow. Looking around, I noticed other feeble lights attached to the point man of each column, but they are all blue. I was later told these goggles had a lot of functionalities such as night vision and thermals. But surprisingly, they are also equipped with an advanced heads-up display that can show information. In this particular case, the leader of your drop group, also the magazine's ammo count, fire mode and zeroing of the synchronized gun, highlight unknown contacts, show pre-uploaded info, and a couple of more things. Only problem is that they had nothing that could fit my small head compared to their physiology, so I just put my goggles away after looking through them like a human baby would. I had to wear the normal miniaturized ones they provided me. Piercing the clouds, what was beneath me can only be described as pure madness. Tracer fire tore through the dark, coming from all and every direction. Flak explosions visibly compressing and expanding air around us, leaving an ominous black cloud. Searchlights frantically looking in the night. Aircrafts firing unguided rockets only to be shot down from the human lines. Their burning and smoking carcasses ungraciously falling from the sky. The roars of artillery off in the distance, followed by explosions very near to us. What the? I keep screaming. Shut up. I can't even hear the symphony of the battlefield if you keep yelling, said the human. You are all mad. How could you even think of something like this? Oh, relax, darling, we expected far worse, to be honest. The guys from Operation Overlord had a much tougher time, let alone Market Garden, and that was the 20th century. I don't even know what you are talking about. Just relax and enjoy the fall. How do we even stop from not smashing into the ground at terminal velocity? Using the starchutes, duh. The what? Don't worry, it's just a fancier name for a parachute. A bit more expensive and efficient, and dangerous, but still all the same. I still don't know how I made it safe to the ground. Around me, the humans were setting up a perimeter and frantically trying to understand where we were, looking at a wet map with a broken torch with a low battery. Here and there, the soil erupted in a random explosion after being hit by a large and slow plasma bolt. A couple of times, some stray bullets hit the rock we were hiding behind, ricocheting with sinister sounds. This map is as good as non-existent. The landmarks are all wrong, and the village we were supposed to drop next to is 10 kilometers east of us. Who the hell gave us this thing? The colonel angrily shouted. throwing the map on the ground. I remember talking with a Bryan intelligence officer. He was so proud of his team's work. "How is the regiment doing?" the colonel asked the lieutenant, now free from my weight strapped to his chest and with a muddy tablet in hand. "All good, sir. Despite the awful map and intel, all battalions are in position and currently regrouping. We landed safely 15 kilometers behind friendly lines and suffered no casualties to enemy fire. A couple of men suffered injuries from the fall. The 45th Armored and Co. also safely landed 20 kilometers northeast of us. Reportedly, they are already under heavy fire." "Good. Tell each battalion to send out recon and advanced elements to scout ahead. We will join up with the 3rd Regiment on the front lines." "How's the overall situation?" "Not terrible, sir. Could be worse. The 3rd landed wide and alone has swiftly secured a perimeter of 23 kilometers around the LZ, but are confirmed outnumbered at least 9-1 and can't advance much more without fresh reinforcements. Apparently they did not find any enemy units until 19 kilometers from the landings. Seems we were not expected. We are trying to fix the radio to speak with command. While we work on this one, I sent a courier to the next company to get a working one." After regrouping, the 1st Battalion started moving towards the front lines. Walking with them, I learnt to appreciate even more the humans' determination and willpower. Never could I or any other from our species, not even from direct orders from the king, throw ourselves into this black hole of explosions and bullets, walking down the stairs of hell. With only rifles, a bunch of launchers and some handheld mortars, still marching with straight backs, smiling and singing. On our way we came under artillery fire, aircraft strafing runs, and even an ambush by some Taraki stuck behind our lines. Not once did morale falter. Not when a private was injured by the moths, not when the 2nd radio was destroyed by the aircraft, not when the point man walked onto a mine. They keep going, with even more resolve, more strength. That is what it takes to be a Warnot. No, that is what it takes to be worthy of serving humanity. As we neared the front lines, we finally encountered some friendly units from the 3rd Regiment. Tired and battered, have been in constant combat for the past 5 hours, suffering serious losses. They point us to their commander. The field hospital was, if you can even call it that, located in a shed, in the middle of a bog. I still find hard to believe they crammed over 100 casualties in there. I followed the colonel, who went inside to speak with Colonel Astrid. There I saw her, a beautiful human woman. Long but tied hair of a deep brown, fine and elegant facial features, and 2 stunningly blue predatory eyes. She was missing a leg, and her left forearm. 3 medics were complaining around here, because she ordered her adjutant not to move out of the way. Even then, she was coordinating the regiment's efforts. That was the first time I saw Colonel Oscar hesitate, just for a split second though. "That will grant you a medal or a promotion," said softly. "I would rather have a vacation on a tropical island, to be honest." Is she all right?" I muttered. "Ah, the attaché from the Brians. You are smaller and cuter than expected. Don't worry about me. Nothing prosthetics or augmentations can't fix or improve." "How is the situation?" asked the healthy colonel. "Well, with you here it's much better. We ran out of at about 30 minutes after contact. I saw a lot of destroyed vehicles on the way here. You're doing. We could do nothing but run up to them and throw some grenades down the hatches when possible. I took out 2 of them myself." Replied proudly, she continued. "We are at a crossroad. This settlement we are currently assaulting is the last noteworthy defensive line before 40 kilometers of fields and hills. If we dislodge them from here, our way to the planetary fortress is secured. Then we can call in the big guns. Problem is that we are out of at for 2 whole battalions, and we confirmed at least 15 tanks plus armored Vics. We will take care of them. Soldiers move out. Assist the 1st and 2nd Battalion." As everyone vacated the shed, before leaving, the colonel turned around one last time, before walking out. "You take care of yourself." "Of course, Greg." As the colonel was preparing the assault on the village with a human, accurate, map, I noticed the ground trembling, puddles of water agitated, and little rocks jumping up and down. At great speed, a massive armored vehicle was approaching just to stop a few meters from us. The adaptable battle tank, or so it was called, was weathered, muddy, and damaged. It was missing the front left fender and the entirety of the right armored side skirt, The paint on the turret cheeks was violently removed in many spots by numerous shell impacts that left only the gray, metallic, bent, armor sheet exposed to the elements. Its smoke dispensers were empty. Both external fuel tanks exploded, spare tracks blown away, and the toolbox was nowhere to be seen. From the metal beast, a hatch slowly but mechanically opened. "Greetings, Colonel. Sorry for the delay, but the maps provided were dog's hit. We ran into an armored enemy regiment." "Well, now it's not a problem anymore." "Perfect timing, Major. I see you had fun out there." "We lost 5 tanks. 4 are stuck in the mud, and 1 has the engine not really cooperating. We configured them for swampy terrain before the mission, but apparently it was not good enough. We run out of solid ammo, we only have plasma bolts, and the fuel economy in these things is not really the best. We had to take out some fuel from the 5 tanks we left behind, and even that is not much. We expect to be able to perform just 1 more assault before needing urgent supplies." "Good. We are about to attack this settlement that appears to be their last defended line before the fortress. Care to join us, Major?" "Sure thing. Yes, we found out that space moths really are attracted by bright lights. We realized it after firing an illumination flare and realized all those stupid bugs dropped what they were doing to look at that. It's just a couple of seconds, but it's enough to give us an edge." "Very interesting. Now we were thinking of assaulting from—" "Hold on, Colonel. I'm getting a message from Command," said Kirai, while carefully listening to what was being said in his earset. "Good news. And bad news. Good news and great news. The 12th Battle Group is early and is currently decimating the enemy ships in orbit. The corridor is open. The Archangel itself is descending to the surface to unload the remainder of the division, and 2 support gunships are on the way. We have total air superiority. We made it, Colonel. 6 hours of hell, but we made it," smirking said the tank commander while looking back at the sky. Like a messenger from the heavens, far, far in the distance, the kilometer-long heavy assault ship can be seen effortlessly gliding past the grim clouds and softly resting on the surface of the ocean. "Let's kick some space moth ass," confidently said the colonel. What follows can only be described as the complete and total destruction of the 1067th Taraki Mechanized Regiment defending the Forsaken Settlement. Losses 100%. Kia 90%, MIA 1%, captured 9%. An elegant but brutal and coordinated display of combined arms, superior firepower, doctrine, and equipment. To start the assault, several flares were shot up high in the dark sky. Many Taraki walked out in the open, attracted by the artificial light. Immediately after, a 2-minute incessant barrage from a battery of self-propelled extreme terrain artillery howitzers, freshly deployed from the Archangel, leveled every single building that was hit, and the adjacent one. The colonel wished the barrage could last longer, but he acknowledged that other units needed more the artillery support. As soon as the bombardment quieted down, an atmospheric light gunship circled 4 times around the target area, striking with precision what little armored assets were still running. The moths were bleeding from the ears, eyes, and mouths. Some just bleeding from all over. Some only stopped bleeding when they run out of blood. The few wise enough to look for cover underground were either trapped under the debris or just crashed by their own collapsing shelters. Human infantry moved to flank enemy positions and set up kill zones to cut potential retreat avenues. 6 tanks from the 45th Armored BTN, escorted by the colonel and his men, rushed the enemy positions as soon as the last shot turned into dust, the last of the occupied, and not buildings. What little defense the remainder of the bugs put up was swiftly put down either by a selfless 150mm bolt from one of the tanks or by a good OL bayonet stab. Safe to say the only survivors were the ones buried under the ground. In just 10 minutes, an entire regiment was written off and the humans broke through the last line before the planetary fortress. As we were securing the perimeter and were looking after the wounded, a column of armored vehicles approached from the human lines. Finally, the soldiers could sit inside a steel, moving box, just enough to have some rest. It was true after all. That was the last line of defense. Driving down the countryside, I noticed how human soldiers manage to sleep literally everywhere they can. All of the humans in my vehicle were dozing or resting while seated and strapped tight by the very uncomfortable seat belts. Looking outside, we drove past some units from the exhausted 3rd Regiment that were securing the road before us. Some were sleeping on the ground, some were sleeping on the rocks, some were sleeping under the rocks. I spotted one sleeping over a tree branch and another sleeping next to the burning wreck of an APC. Yes, it was still pouring rain. No, it didn't matter. Note taken. Humans can sleep anywhere if left unsupervised. It was then that I came to know that the third up until that moment has suffered 20% losses, but kept marching on. I have nothing but respect for these humans. Eventually we got there. Atop a hill we could see the planetary fortress. A large and imposing complex of cement and steel. The size of a standard Bryan city, it was a sight to behold. Double shield generator, multiple watchtowers, sentinel turrets, minefields and machine gun emplacements. Something that even the humans would find difficult to crack. Or so I thought.
Brion, come?
Use this tactical rangefinder. You see that infrared light over there? Indicating a hill south of us. Those are forward elements of the 43rd Marine, and over on the other side there's a recon squad from the 50th Marine. You know what that means? The enemy is surrounded? I hesitated. No. It means the moths are fucked. We will begin the assault in 6 hours. Rest well, said the colonel while walking away. I took my time to breathe in and think of what I just went through. I thought how valiantly and ferociously my allies have fought, and how lucky we were to be on their side. I also took a minute to honor all those brave men and women that died to push the assault. Those that, despite knowing how compromised the plan was from the very beginning, charged head-on and never gave up. As I was taking my sweet deep time of philosophical insight, the Colonel Osaker and Major Kirai came back, laughing and smiling, as if nothing had happened. A bit annoyed by their carefree attitude, especially when I was mourning the fallen, I murmured, "What's so funny now?" Fully expecting some human bullshit like, "Oh, smile every once in a while. Enjoy the small things in life," or "Ha ha ha, we humans are just this crazy ah ha ha." But instead, "Ah, minion, want to see something cool?" "Yes, sure," I said, a bit scared they would do something stupid or dangerous, especially with me around. The Major stepped up, clearly joyful, and handed me some miniature opaque glasses after handing the Colonel a pair of adequate-sized ones. "We just received a message from the 12th. It's short and simple. My favorite type of message," said Major Kirai. "It reads, 'Heads down.'" "That's it?" I asked, perplexed. "Yeah, that's it," said with a sinister grin, turning once again towards the clouds in the distance. And then, like a mirage, a dream, or a nightmare, a ship descended from the heavens above, piercing the clouds. No, what am I saying? It violently pushed the clouds away, kicking them from her intended path, forcefully making its way into the atmosphere. A stunning, sleek, and elegant ship, an enormous vessel, 2 kilometers in length but just 400 m wide and even less in height. Like a dagger, she imposes her presence to let everyone know, "I'm here." What is that?" "A dreadnought," I said, terrified of the human's creation. C-002. That's the battlecruiser Ignis, flagship of the 12th Battle Group, said the colonel, pointing at the visible pure white crest number, highlighted by the pure black coating on the rest of the ship. The only other touch of color was the Terran insignia, on each side, right before the number. A light blue circle with thin white details. "Oh, Captain Ember sent another message. It reads." What does it say?" I said out of morbid curiosity. "Get fucked." "Indeed, get fucked," said in unison the colonel and the major. What happened then? It's even more frightening to recall and describe than the assault on the village. From the top of the ship, I could see a bulkhead spitting open. Large, heavy, and armored blast doors sliding underneath the ship's alloy skin, unhurriedly revealing a massive object. Slowly, an enormous cannon arrogantly rose up from the bowels of the ship, something I would approximate as 300 m long, with an impressive array of counterweights, junctions, and structural elements holding it firmly in place. A weapon so massive and big, it is actually bigger than our flagship, the Monarch. Dear gods. Sush. Here comes the best part. I don't know how to properly describe how that thing works or how ID does not tear a rip through reality. All I know is how I felt. An ominous glare seemingly surrounding and feeding this thing appears out of thin air. bringing light even here, in the depths of the dark, rainy and muddy hell. Like thunder, I could see electric currents running feral along the whole length of the skeletonized barrel guard. Wild, untamed and spirited bolts of blue pure energy. And then, at the end of the barrel, takes form a singularity, a black hole, a miniaturized, domesticated and well-behaved black hole. I am sure of this. I could see, even from kilometers and kilometers away, the accretion disk, the swirling energy and the pure, absolute void of light right in the middle. The space-time around the muzzle of this weapon seemingly tortured and contorted as light and matter try to run away from it. Run away from the machines of humanity, to no avail. After infinite seconds of this monstrosity chagering up, it fires. Or so I think. I don't know if it shot mass, energy, or just the physical form of a fuck you. But it fired or the weapon's equivalent. The black hole was no more, along with the accretion disk and everything in between. There was no hearable sound that left the gun. No visible projectile that left the barrel. Nothing had been registered by my senses. It was a fraction of a second, not even, it was instantaneous. Simply, the black hole and all those strange phenomenons were no longer there. I was still looking at the ship when an impossibly bright light blinded me even with the glasses on. And then came the shockwave. So powerful it blew me off the ground, so powerful it also blew the human officers off the ground. If it was any other shockwave, mine and the other men's internal organs would have been in so many pieces they could be considered as puzzles of hard difficulty level. But we were fine, we were just knocked off our feet by this unknowable, indescribable force. As I look back on what I once thought was an impregnable fortress, there lies nothing. Just a crater. No debris, no dust, no nothing. I dare not know what was fired at that moment, I dare not ask. Is it done? W1. Right? I was literally trembling, shaking deep in my core. Here? Yes. The fresh divisions are landing now, they will mop up the place. But we still have work to do, said nonchalantly the colonel, as if we didn't just witness something that defies the laws of thermodynamics. Unfortunately, the 321st and the Marines are in deep trouble. The system guards missed by 30 kilometers the LZ. Now both Marines and our stupid little siblings are surrounded and have suffered heavy casualties. Get your stuff ready. I don't understand. Didn't you all hate the system guards? I asked, trying not to think about what just happened. A deep, unfriendly, predatory stare from both men put even more fear into my soul than recent events. No man left behind. I nodded. Hastily. We already lost too many good souls because of a lack of common sense. Let's bring them home. Silently I followed them. Wait, tell me, what was that? Yes, the gravity accelerator cannon. That's a Type 3, 300-inch Mk-15 GAC. If you are wondering, the type number indicates the size with lower numbers meaning bigger systems, while the Mk is the upgrade variant. It can fire a variety of different ammunition from solid shots like APF-SDS, HE or, my favorite, nuclear fission flechettes or just plasma bolts. It's also possible to use light, antimatter, gravitational waves, multidimensional collisions, Schrödinger's cats, subspace ripples or time-space microlacerations as ammunition. The latter is just theoretical. RIC. Wait, you have bigger ones?